Right, great. As I was mentioning, we're going to tell you about Request to Pay. So, first, very briefly on FIS. FIS is a very large fintech that provides solutions for banks and merchants around the world, but in particular here in Europe, where we provide payments infrastructure to many banks here in the European Union and in the UK. And we are partnered with, for this area of our business, with Charlie India, who is represented by Katalin, and they are specialized in e-invoicing, storing and managing bills, and helping banks to provide services to the corporate sector to improve the payments workflow. So let's have a look at the video.
The new standardized payment initiation flow that benefits you and your corporate customers. With the speed and safety of a new era of banking. E-invoicing is a double-digit growth market with 69 billion transactions worldwide in the last year that revolutionizes your customers' payment workflows. A recent survey shows 92% of the corporate market wants Request to Pay as part of their e-invoicing process. So, by combining these two services, FIS provides a game-changer solution that will redefine the payment experience with your customers and enable new revenue streams. As the e-invoice is sent, R2P automates the initiation between the payer and the seller in a secure and fast process. The invoice and payment are validated according to EU and country-specific standards. After the confirmation, R2P provides automated matching of the invoice with payment for better treasury planning and risk management with 100% data accuracy. On the payer side, R2P allows fast communication in case of any question on the invoice. All standardized, accurate, and secure, working seamlessly inside the existing infrastructure and ecosystems that can reduce costs up to 95%. R2P and e-invoicing are stronger together. An innovative FIS future-proof solution. For the industry, a new approach to payment and invoicing to serve business customers. For the banks, all the flexibility to take control and develop unique value. A revolution is coming. Get future ready.
Yes, as we said, a revolution is coming. And indeed, in terms of getting bills paid and asking people to pay those bills, Request to Pay is going to make life a whole lot easier. So first of all, a quick couple of slides on to explain what it is. It's basically a standardized messaging system in order to initiate a payment. So it's a little bit similar to, if you think of WhatsApp as being a messaging system, you send a message, you can get an immediate response. This will be similar, but associated with getting payments. And what is above all interesting is that, of course, it is standardized in Europe. So you can get payments, or you can send those messages in exactly the same way to anyone in the European Union that's reachable, and therefore they will understand the message and be able to respond. It's hence obviously very rapid, and it means that it keeps control for the beneficiary of the payment, the one sending the invoice. They decide when it's going and obviously the amount, but it also allows the payer, the person who's going to pay for that invoice, to validate from their side and therefore also keep control of their cash management. It's also a scheme which is run by the EPC and is open not only to banks, but also to payment initiation providers of all types. So this means it will become very rapidly available throughout the market. And finally, when the message goes out and the message comes back from the payer, they will be able to immediately initiate and tell their bank or their service provider in what way to pay and when to pay. So, as you can imagine, there are multiple different use cases for request to pay. Any situation where there's a need for payment, whether it's a need for payment instantly so that you can release the goods, or a scheduled payment perhaps at the end of the month when the bill may become ready to pay. Of course, you can also, in a request to pay, say whether it should be for 100% of the amount or to be paid in installments. And finally, as I mentioned earlier, it works across borders. So it will be able to be used to ask for payments anywhere in Europe. It hence is applicable for use cases in multiple different areas. B2C, B2B, as you can imagine, we're using many invoices going B2B, so that to associate them with a request to pay will simplify that process. B2G, governments are interested in order to send out tax requests or fines and get immediate responses from the person that's got to pay them. And of course, also those cases in peer-to-peer, where perhaps a member of a family would like to get some funds transferred to them immediately, and they can just send a request to pay, and the other person and the person sending the funds can agree, and the funds can be moved. So here we'll just look in detail at one particular use case, the one related to e-invoicing. This is of particular interest because for suppliers that are sending the invoice, they can associate with the request to pay message the invoice. So they attach it to the invoice. So that means the message going out asking for validation is associated with that invoice. So it means reconciliation is extremely easy. The client who receives the request to pay, therefore, will know immediately what invoice it is, will check the details of the invoice, and then validate in the contents of the invoice, as well as giving when and how they're going to pay. And that validation process then goes back to their provider of the service and to their bank in order to program the payment, either instantly or at the end of a scheduled period. It also, of course, makes reconciliation simple. It makes validation very easy. So for the customer, it brings together all of the invoice and the validation process, and therefore it simplifies that process. And both for the supplier and for the client, it's going to make reporting and cash management that much easier. Now, FIS is there as a provider of the technology in order for those providers of request to pay to be able to provide the service. So whether it's on the client side with the client's provider, so that could be his bank or his payment initiation provider, or on the merchant side, on the supplier side, we also provide the technology to those for the outbound messages. But of course, as part of that process, it needs to be harmonized with e-invoicing. And that's where we have the partnership with Charlie India. So here you can see as a summary of those different layers within the processing of the payments. So first of all, at the top here are, of course, the channels and the different types of customer. Below that, we have the e-invoicing segment that Charlie India, and Katalin will explain a bit more about that. And then that feeds down into the request to pay service level, which is the service that FIS can provide to you. And that all then is connected through our payment execution modules or through existing modules. If you already have a module in the bank, you don't have to use the FIS payment execution module, and then from there to the scheme so that the funds can be transferred. So now I will transfer to Katalin, who will tell you a little bit more about the e-invoicing.
Yes, so Nigel explained very well the process flows, and I'm going to explain how it would look like in practice and within the bank. So our product helps banks and financial service providers to incorporate enterprises into request to pay with the help of e-invoicing. our solution helps generate payment requests right from the invoice data, which can be derived within the bank solution or from an outside ERP at the corporate customers. Banking customers will be able to present, manage, and connect invoices and payment requests and payment in one place, so they can have a good overview of what is happening with respect of invoicing and payments. And because we think that the real challenge for onboarding enterprise customers into request to pay will be the integration, we made the ERP integration with our technology painless on the corporate side, so it is very easy for banks to onboard their corporate customers. From the bank's perspective, how it would look like, having request to pay and invoicing together. For the SME banking segment, banks can launch a new generation of SME banking, incorporating digital invoice management, payment requests and payments together. And for corporate customers, ERP providers and accounting service providers, the bank will be able to provide API-based value-added services. We can also provide customizable options for both on the front end and the back end. And it is very easy to customize with our technology with a low-code approach. Our solution supports both acquirer side and issuer side customer journeys. As I mentioned, with the generation of the invoice, the payment request is created simultaneously and it is sent to the payment system for approval, and the customers would have complete and real-time overview of all invoices, payment requests, and payments. And as Nigel mentioned, it makes banking transaction and invoice data reconciliation automatable. And also, I already mentioned that the data exchange with the ERP system, both on the invoice issuing side or the supplier invoice processing side, is very seamless with us. And going back to the typical use cases, I think these are the most important things to mention, is that there would be the bill payments for large bill issuers who can send bills and payment requests together. It can be a very useful tool in the B2B invoice payment for the SME segment, because they can have everything together and see everything together. And it can also be a good solution for merchants and e-commerce companies, where they can manage invoicing and payments with the help of request to pay, everything together and in real time. And this can be also a substitute for card payments as well. The largest added value of the request to pay scheme is the 100% data accuracy, which enables the automatic payment and invoice data transaction reconciliation, which has not been possible before without the use of AI. So this 100% data accuracy is the biggest plus, I think. And the other advantage is that this service provides better communication and control over payments, both on the supplier and on the customer side, because everyone knows what will happen with the payment. So I think that request to pay and e-invoicing together is really a win-win-win situation for everyone. It is a good service provided by banks, because it provides clear benefits for the customers, and customers will benefit with the better information and better data quality. Thank you for listening to us, and we are waiting for your questions at the panel discussion.